Hello, my name is Brandon Sheldon,
And I'm Nolan Eldridge.
and this is Rookie Season. We are amateur hunters and fishermen who are looking to share our journey of learning the sports. We live in the beautiful state of Maine, and we invite you to join us while we get better at hunting and fishing. We talk about bow, rifle, and black powder hunting, and the different aspects that go into those practices, such as tracking in the snow. We also talk about open water fishing and ice fishing.
Be sure to check out our YouTube and social medias to see photos and videos of what we're discussing on the podcast. There's tons of pro outdoorsmen across the country, and we wanted to share the amateur or rookie point of view of the sport, where we will make lots of mistakes and have to overcome many challenges to get the job done. Maine is notorious for its difficult hunting and low deer density, so we have many challenges ahead of us. Now, let's get into the episode. Okay, now we're hot.
All right, welcome back, guys. Been a little bit. Thanks for hanging in there. We've been trying to get some things done this ice fishing season. Trying is key word. I have not been very successful on my end of ice fishing. I think I've been out probably just 4 or 5 times and been skunked 4 or 5 times. It's rather nice. And at one place we went out fishing, we were fishing for like pike, whatever was really there, but pike was the main thing that we were going for.
Yeah.
We had 20 traps in the water. We fished for about 6 to 7 hours. We had a couple flags, but didn't catch anything. It was rather disappointing. I caught a buzz. So there was that.
I think I know what your problem was.
What's that?
I think you were in the wrong spot.
Probably, fish swim, and they just weren't swimming on that side. I did have one flag that was like, I saw it, I ran over to it, and so Spuds was there, and he has never caught a fish through the ice.
Yeah.
So my buddy Zach and I, something that we do is, like, let's say if we both go out 5 traps each, we share the traps in the sense of we go flag for flag.
Right.
And so we'll go out, and whoever drove there is kind of the rule of thumb. If you drove there, you get the first flag.
Yep.
So I was trying to do that with Spuds, where I was just like, hey, man, I want you to catch a fish. So I let him take the first 3 flags, and then another one popped up on a different side of, like, where our traps were, and I was like, you had 3 shots, dude. I was like, so I went over, and I had it, and you could feel something was pulling on it, and I was being gentle with it at first because it wasn't pulling all that hard. He was just kind of going with the flow of the line. And so I didn't want to just like yard it out of his mouth. I wanted him to kind of resist, and then I was going to set the hook. And he just kept like taking it. And then like I'd pull, and he was just swimming with me. And I got to the hole. And like as I started seeing the body of the fish like round to the hole, I think he saw me and just spit it out. It just took off, and I had nothing.
So he was just holding the hook, like he wasn't actually hooked?
I think he was holding the bait and didn't have the hook in his mouth yet.
Gotcha.
Because, we had fish on, we had some shiners, and I think that he was just like, depending on what way he hit it from, I think he had the body of the fish in his mouth, was swimming with it, and just wasn't over the hook, or he didn't swallow the bait enough for me to hook it.
What type of fish was it?
The bait?
Or the what you think you had?
Honestly, because what we were fishing, I think it was a bass from the way I looked at it.
Okay.
Yeah. Wasn't, I was for trout, but where we were at, you get like pike, bass, yellow perch, all that stuff. That's what I was going for. I was fishing push-off. That's it's a very common area, so it's not no secret. But I was a little disappointed because I was really hoping to catch something that day.
Right.
And I got it to the hole, and I think he just saw me and was like, no thanks, spit it out, and took off.
I've heard of that with like pike and pickerel. If you're really fast getting to the flag, like you watch it pop up, and you're fishing for these fish, and it's not running, wait.
Yeah.
Because what I was told is they'll grab it, run for a second, stop, get a good handle on the bait, and actually start trying to eat it, and then they'll run again.
Yeah.
And it's on the second run that apparently you want to set the hook. I don't know. I've never caught a pike.
Yeah, I never caught a pike either. That's why I was fishing there, because I wanted to catch a pike. But something that's kind of neat about bass is, I'm sure there's more than just bass that do this, but I just recently learned this about bass. I thought it was kind of neat because it was on a video. This guy had like a 6-pound bass. He was like down south or something like that. But largemouth bass is a largemouth bass. And he had a fish. The guy caught it, and the bait that was in the fish's mouth was obviously still there. And when he unhooked it, the bait stayed there. Well, while he was holding the bass, you could watch the bait fish like still get pulled into the bass's mouth because the muscles and stuff inside the bass's mouth is what's working. Like,
oh, okay.
Like we chew and they don't really chew. It's the muscles in there that was like working to like, I don't know. The ultimate picture is like snakes when they bite something, they use their jaw to like climb up the food and pull it into their mouth. And the bass essentially has something within its mouth that worked its way in. And so what you just said would kind of line up with that. Mm-hmm. You grab it, they hang on to it, they run real quick, and if they stop, I imagine it's those muscles that are like working its way into the mouth, and that's why on the second run you could have a better chance of hooking it.
It makes sense. I mean, I'd imagine. I guess when you say it like that. Sounds a lot like how our intestines work.
Yeah, no, exactly. Yeah, your esophagus.
Yeah,
am I saying that right? I don't know why I'm struggling right now. Esophagus. Yeah, okay, yeah. That same idea. Like you can be on your head, eat something, and your esophagus will still pull it to your stomach.
I got taught that in middle school health class.
Good.
And that resulted in me like always wanting to try to eat a granola bar upside down with monkey bars.
Yep. Fair enough.
That teacher's lucky I didn't choke.
Yeah. What happened? That guy taught me that. Yeah, we're suing that dude. Yeah. But no, I had just heard that once. I saw that video, and what you just said, it kind of makes sense. Mm-hmm. And then I don't typically ice fish for bass. I've never actually caught a bass through the ice. I've always caught them like top water or like whatever, open water type of deal. And by then they're just striking it.
Right.
And those are very different because a lot of top water lures have the treble hooks or whatever. So
it's a lot easier.
Yeah. But how about you? You have any luck? Any big trips? Any big adventures? Anything in your way?
I've gone out 3 times. 2 of them I made a video.
Okay.
One of them I tried to make a video and caught nothing. I felt like dog water halfway through the day and just left at like noon. So
yeah,
that one's just staying in the archives. That video.
Yeah.
That one kind of humbled me out a little bit because I think I've told you about it. I've got this little tiny kettle pond, and that's my sure thing. You want to go there and just slay fish. This place is filled with crappie and. I've been there in the past, and I had to stop setting tip-ups because I got sick of chasing them. I'd set one, go to the next one, turn around, and it's already got another fish on it. Dude, we hole hopped this entire pond. The entire pond's only like 6-7 acres.
Yeah.
Got 1 mark the entire day.
Oh, no.
And so...
When you say mark, are you using a flasher?
Yeah, okay. Mark on the flasher.
Yeah.
So we jigged for a couple minutes and just we're trying to find a massive school of crappie. So shouldn't be that hard, but it was.
Yeah.
And then made a video on this. Went up to Fort Kent with Big Bailey.
Yep.
And that was his debut on the channel.
Nice.
And I think he had fun with that.
He seemed like he had fun. My name's Jeff. If you watch the video, you'll understand why I said that. It just cracks me up. Big Bailey, you can tell he was like kind of socially awkward with it. And you're like, say something. My name's Jeff.
That was a cool trip. The Airbnb was.
Can you explain what the trip is? I know what it is, but can you explain to the viewers that don't know?
Yep. So we went to the Long Lake Ice Fishing Derby. It is the largest derby in the state of Maine, and this was actually a record-setting year for them. So I think it's like the second year in a row they've set a record for attendance.
No doubt.
Last year was 1,800 people. This year was over 2,000 people entered the Derby.
No doubt.
So that explains how they're giving away a $50,000 side-by-side.
Yeah, I was going to say, what's the prize and stuff? Yep, but that would make sense.
It's like $25,000 cash purse.
Yeah.
And $50,000 total in prizes. One of them is a side-by-side. And then the door prizes and whatnot. We won nothing. We caught 1 fish that we could have weighed in, decided not to.
Yeah.
Because we would have been laughed out of there.
It would still have been funny.
It would have been. It was like a 13-inch salmon.
Yeah.
And Bailey caught that, which I was happy about. His entire goal this year was to catch a salmon. That was all he wanted to do.
Okay.
And he caught a salmon his first time ice fishing with me.
Yeah.
And shouldn't have, because we were in like 30 feet of water and he's fishing off the bottom.
That's kind of interesting, yeah.
But, you told me what Zach said, which was fish swim.
Yeah.
And you have no idea the amount of times, every single time I've gone ice fishing this year, I've been looking at depth maps and playing out fish behavior. I'm like, okay, well, this hole here, but if I go 5 feet to the right, then maybe... Nah, fish swim.
Fish swim, yeah. It's always been funny because when Zach and I have always talked about that, I do a very good job of overcomplicating, overthinking, like, all right, so I'm doing this is the depth, this is where the slope is underneath the water, it drops from this many feet to that many feet, like, at the end of the day, it's like, throw a line in, and then you can, if you're going to be there all day, you can try different things. There is definitely definitely the recipes, I feel like, where you do have more luck catching fish in a certain way. Like salmon. Everyone's always like, put it a couple feet under the ice, salmon are running up top. So catching it in 30 feet of water on the bottom is an interesting way to catch a salmon. Just because the most common theme is that you do it right under the ice. But hey, fish swim like Zach always says. Yeah, and so there you go. And I always thought that was funny. So, so what else about that trip? What else? Anything like? Were you around a bunch of people when you were up there?
I wasn't around a bunch of people. I didn't want to get swamped, so I set up in front of the warden outpost on the lake.
No, okay.
Because I figured there wouldn't be a whole lot of foot traffic right there.
Yeah,
and it was the funniest thing at like 7:10. I'm assuming their shift must start at 7 because at 7:10, like 5 or 6 snowmobiles with green dudes just all in a line rode out of the camp. So
that's funny.
And I caught 2 perch. One of them was so small it didn't trip the flag. And just some random things that happen. Like it's a different world up there. Yeah. It really is. Like I've been up there before in passing, but this was my first time actually spending more than an hour up there.
Yep.
And like we were fishing and plane buzzes the shack.
Yeah.
And I had my friend with us, and I had seen pine boughs on the lake. And I was like, oh, well, there's a lot of snowmobile traffic. I see a lot of people mark their tip-ups with pine boughs so that way they don't get hit. Mm-hmm. And I see the pine boughs. I don't think anything of it. The plane buzzes the shack, and I'm like, geez, that guy's kind of close. Mm-hmm. And my friend Isabel looks at me and goes, well, yeah, no duh. You set up right next to the runway. I'm like, what do you mean the runway? We're on a lake. She goes, what do you think all the pine boughs are?
Yeah, it is kind of comical because, like, to me, like when I see pine boughs in the lake or something like that, a lot of people who have bait traps in the water, they'll cover it with that. It helps prevent some of the freezing over, and then also it's just a more indicator because those bait trap holes are typically a little bit bigger than your 8-inch, 10-inch ice fishing hole.
Just enough to step into or something.
Yeah, exactly. You step in it, go right up to your waist. That would suck.
I've done that once. Yeah, that wasn't fun. Yeah. But another thing that happened was we met a biologist out there. They were out just asking questions.
Yeah.
How many people fishing and how many fish you caught? What kind of fish?
Yeah.
And it was Big Bailey that had actually been talking to him. And he told him, oh, yeah, we set up at 3 a.m. and we haven't caught anything. It was probably like 10 a.m. at this point.
Yeah.
And the guy's like, really? Nothing? I'm like, no, nothing. He goes, not even a cusk. You're like, no. He goes, wow. How about that? And walks away.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, well, nice to know we're obviously doing something very wrong.
Yeah. That was just surprising to him, because of this concept of that's the time for everything. Who knows? Yeah. Who knows? I had a biologist that came up one time, and I didn't know he was a biologist. He didn't introduce himself as a biologist. Mm-hmm. And he just, showed up, drove a snowmobile directly up to us, and he goes, hey, what do you got for fish? And that's exactly how he said it, and I was like right now I don't actually have anything on the water, on the lake. Mm-hmm. Everything I've caught and put back. He goes, what size were they? And I was like, are you a game warden? And he was like, no. I was like, all right. I was like, I caught some togue, and I told him the size of the togue, and he goes, okay. And he goes, and how'd you catch them? I was like, who are you? I was just so confused, and he was like, "Oh, I'm a wildlife biologist." But I'm like, dude, next time lead with that. Yeah. Just show up and start, questioning me. I thought he was gonna give me my Miranda rights. I was like, what is going on right now?
Am I doing something wrong? Yeah. I just don't know it.
Yeah. Me and my friends were all just looking at it, what the heck is going on? Yeah. So how long were you up there for? We
were up there. We went up on a Friday afternoon. And stayed till Sunday night.
Yeah.
It was a 2-day long derby. There's 8 different lakes that you can choose from, and then all the different categories between muskie, lake trout, salmon, most perch, and I can't even list them all. We only fished Eagle Lake, just because that was where one of my friends' camps was. Yeah. The second day. The first day, getting out there at 3 a.m., I've got an insulated shack, a buddy heater. I have never had an issue. It was so cold up there, my holes were refreezing in the shack.
Really?
And Bailey brought this little like magnetic thermometer.
Yeah.
And so we put it at the ceiling. So that's right at the
warmest
tip of the
spot,
pyramid. Before the sun came up, it never got above 30 at the ceiling.
Oh no.
And that was incredible.
Yeah, and that's with your buddy heater.
On high.
Do you have an insulated shack or?
Yep.
Yeah. No doubt. Yeah.
So the second day, we got back to the Airbnb that night, and I was like, dude, I don't know about you, but like we were real hard chargers today. We did the thing.
Yeah.
What do you say tomorrow? We just wake up when we wake up and just fish from the front porch of Isabel's camp.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's cool though. I saw your video that you had posted. It was a good video. It was a fun video to watch.
Yeah.
Fishing. Otherwise it would be catching if you were out there and slay fish all day. Otherwise hunting would be called shooting if you're going to go out there and shoot something every single time. It's a humbling thing. The pond that I talk about all the time with you, that's only like 20 minutes from my house. Mm-hmm. It's like super easy to get out on. One of the reasons I go there is because they stock it with trout. Typically you go there, you always get a flag when you're there. Right. And I haven't put an all-day trip in there, but I've gone there several times for like 3 or 4 hours now, and I've yet to just catch anything. Mm-hmm. I got a new one of those Eskimo like pistol bits, 8-inch. I was super excited to try that. First day I went out there, I had a hand auger. I had never resharpened the blades from when I used it like 3 years ago.
I could tell on your short that you uploaded.
Oh my word, that thing! Like I was sore for 2 days afterwards. It took me 25 minutes to drill a hole with it. I was oh my gosh! I ended up at the end of, I took a video of me doing it, but I didn't put it in the short. I got like most of the way through, and I was like, I'm gonna go get a rock. And I did. I went over and got a rock, and I broke through like the last 3 inches of ice, and I just fished out of it that way.
Points for creativity.
Yeah, I appreciate that. What really chat my butt on that ass, whatever, is when I was out there and I drilled that hole, I was looking around. There was little snow mounds. Yep. Like just over all over the place. And so I'm bored. I'm walking around, and I kick one of those snow mounds like a little kid, I guess. Mm-hmm. People were burying their holes. The snow would insulate it, so you didn't have to drill a new hole. So I'm standing 10 feet from like 4 different holes that I could throw traps in, but I'm over here just working to death to drill a hole with a hand auger.
Oh, no.
So anywho, I got that pistol bit, and I went back out there, different time, and I went to a different spot of the lake or pond, and I drilled some holes, and I didn't get anything. But it was cool. But you could look right down. It was like the right amount of water that I was looking for. Yeah. Just didn't catch anything. Something that I thought was interesting is while I was out there, it's I don't know if I had to guess. Like I don't know how big. It's really not big. You can see end to end very easily, and it's very like narrow. It's more, I don't know. It's more long and narrow than it is per se wide and like an oval shape. It's just very long and narrow. It was comical to me. I was sitting there at my trap and I was looking down the pond, and I was like, "There's a dog down there." I was like, "What's a dog doing out here?" And I was like, "Oh, wait a minute. That's not. It is a dog. It was a coyote. It was a coyote. Walked right out. It was like 2:00 in the afternoon, midday." And I was just like looking at it, and I was like, "That is definitely a coyote." So I made some noise, and it looked over at me, and it just took off running across the pond. And I went down there, and there was a ton of tracks, just coyote tracks everywhere. Really? And my buddy he came and serviced my boiler the other day. He fishes out there too. Mm-hmm. And he said that the other day they were out there, and while they were out there, he was walking, and they noticed something moved to their left, and when he looked over, it was like a 10-point buck laying on the ice. No way. His back half was ripped off and eaten by coyotes. Oh. Yeah, but he was still alive.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, so they didn't have a gun or anything, so they were like, can't really kill it, you know what I mean? Like, so he felt bad. He was talking about it because they were out there with kids and stuff like that, and there's just this half-eaten deer just laying there looking at him like, help, but
sorry, Jimmy. Welcome to Mother Nature.
Yeah, exactly. But that would explain why I saw the coyote there, because it was right around the same time frame. Yeah. It was very interesting just to see, but hear his story. You imagine walking out there and it's just like a deer looking at you, back half gone. Just yeah, exactly. But that explains the coyotes. I know coyotes are bad out there. Coyotes are bad everywhere out here, really. I have coyotes out here. I think I have more of a fox issue than I do coyote issue. Yeah. I can hear the coyotes way out in the woods sometimes, but now that I visually see that fox pretty frequently on my cameras, I think my issue I have is a fox. I mean, it's not chasing my deer around, but if I ever get chickens or something, that'll be an issue.
See, I thought that coyote like figured out a little monopoly on the lake.
Yeah.
And if people were fishing and left their fish on the ice, it'd go back in the shack to warm up, and it'd run by and grab the fish.
Well, even the bait fish, which technically you're not supposed to throw like live bait fish down the hole.
Right.
So even like the dead bait fish, they would throw it to the side, or even some people would just dump their bait fish, and maybe he was going over to eating them that way. Mm-hmm. But no, so I did that. Fished, push off, fished that pond a couple times. I think I'll have more luck if I went and fished my own pond in my own property and there's no fish in it. But it is what it is. That's why it's called fishing. I really wanted to catch a pike. There's a couple of spots I still want to try to get to this year. My schedule's kind of weird right now, and so we'll see what we can do. I know you and I were talking yesterday at work about trying to get out at some point at the end of this month. That'd be nice. I'd like to go out with Big Bailey as well.
Yeah.
I know that he likes to go, and me and him have talked about going fishing a couple of times, and we just never lined up with it.
It is funny. You know what his biggest concern about making videos with us is? He doesn't have like true dedicated snow gear or like ice fishing gear.
Who cares?
No, I know. It's just, it's funny. It's funny.
That's why we're called rookie season, man. I don't care what you wear.
But like up in Fort Kent, everybody's in snowmobile gear or that full Eskimo getup, and he's got like some old Carhartt bibs and then like a North Face like mountaineering jacket.
Dude, first off, coming from me, I don't give a crap. It'd be warm. Dress yourself. That's one of those like. To me, that's one of those social media things where it's like you see everybody who has nice stuff. I fall trap for it. Don't get me wrong, but like I fall for the trap. But man, I don't. He's totally fine.
For the longest time, I was wearing exclusively my dad's old like '90s Articat gear. Yeah. That like when everything was all about racing. Yeah. And so it looked funny as all hell. I'm like 19 years old, and I've got just that FU loud saber cap across the back of my jacket.
Yeah. I do regret selling my snowmobile gear sometimes because it was worn. It was nice to have. I don't snowmobile. It's not that I'm against snowmobiling. Mm-hmm. It's just our winters are not what they used to be. I'm not traveling an hour north to have like the total amount of snow. Yeah. Even what we have right now.
This is bare minimum, I think.
It is. If you could go out, you would still go out on trails right now, and you would still bottom out in places. You have those root stumps or whatever. You would still smoke those things, and it would jack you up.
I just got my snowmobile gear just for ice fishing. Yeah. Because that was what I knew, and I know Eskimo and those companies in Clam are now making the snowsuits. Okay. I'm sure they had been making them, but I was newer to ice fishing, and it was the first time it finally came across my radar, and I was like, I don't know. Yeah. I know this stuff will work. Yeah. So. Yeah. And it floats. Hey. It's not like Coast Guard approved, but it was funny. I always made the joke like, if you fall in, keep you floating for like 20 minutes, and after that you're done anyways. I was finally reading the tag on it. That stuff is certified for like 2 hours.
Oh wow. So you're gonna be floating and dead.
Yeah. So I would always say like, I mean, if you take 20 minutes to get out of the water, you're done for anyways, but at least they'll know where to go looking for. Right. So what the real thing is, now they won't need to look. They'll know right where you are if it takes 2 hours to get out.
Yeah, no, exactly. You know what cracked me up in your video? It was Bailey's picks. Yep. Yeah. And that cracked me up. He was showing, he has those picks that you hang around your neck, so if you fall in, you pull them out, stab them in the ice, pull yourself out. He's like, check out this fun trick. He dips it in the water, they sink. They're not even floating. They're not floaters, It's just like, well, that's not going to help you.
Yeah, that seemed like a little bit of a design flaw. And they don't even, my picks, they don't retract, but they go into each other so you can wear them as a necklace.
That one just sloops over his neck.
Yeah. I'm sorry. Those things are gone if you really take a tumble.
Yeah, if you're panicking and whatnot, you're not trying to think of hanging on to that in that immediate moment.
Especially wearing Carhartt bibs, 3 hoodies, and a mountaineering jacket.
My uncle always told me when you go in waders, like say summertime, always carry a pocket knife. Because you fall in your waders, and it starts sucking you down. You take a pocket knife and you cut your straps and try to pull it out that way, or you just straight up cut your gear. And it makes sense, but you got to keep it in a spot that you can get to it.
Right. Yeah. See, that's why when I'm in waders by myself, I wear a life jacket.
Yeah, makes sense.
I know my dad actually told me, looking back, he told me this when I was 10, and I really wanted a pair of waders. I don't know if this is true or not now, but,
Right? Maybe one of those things like, hey, you can't drive with a cab light on in the truck, but it's illegal.
Exactly. Yeah, I got told that so much.
Yeah, turn the light off.
And what he told me was he was cohogging in waders, and he was the only one out there, and he fell.
Yeah.
And they didn't like catch an air pocket and turn him upside down, but they just filled with water, and they were too heavy to stand back up.
Yeah.
And he was able to get on his hands and knees, and his nose was above water, and he was able to crawl hands and knees back to shore.
No doubt.
Yeah.
That'd be kind of sketchy, especially if tide's coming in.
Yeah. Luckily, he wasn't that far off, because I know exactly the spot that he was talking about. But yeah, that was the story that he used to keep me from bugging him for waders for
the longest time.
Yeah.
It might be a true story. I mean, not like a true story in the sense like, I don't know if he necessarily lied to you, but it might be one of those things where it's like, no, buddy, I don't want you going out thinking that you're all, hot shit. Next thing I know, I find you just drowning.
Well, he listens to these too, so I wouldn't be surprised if I got a call, a couple days after this is posted. It's either going to say, hey, you asked, that happened, or it's going to be, you got me.
Yeah, call me
or it was a buddy or my dad's friend or something like that.
Right, yeah, no, exactly. Back to ice fishing, Pushaw had its derby the other day, and I think the biggest pike they pulled out of there was 12 pounds. I don't know what the length was, but that was 12 pounds.
Jay got a big one.
Yeah, I think his was 9 pounds or so. That's a good one for up here.
It was in the 30s of inches.
Yeah, inches wise, yeah. No, that's a nice fish.
I saw the picture of it in the truck bed.
Yep.
And it looked like 20 inches in that picture. Just and I was just like, yeah, good fish, man.
Yep.
And then he was showing someone else, and I saw the picture of him holding it. I was like,
that's a
dinosaur.
Yeah. What the heck? Yeah. I know. I saw a survey recently. It was like for the fish to get to be that big, they're like 10 years old or something. Really? I don't know how accurate that is, but it was showing like per inches of fish, like life expectancy and like size. But like bass have to eat a third of their body weight a day, and they grow rather rapidly. Yeah. And then I think they only lived like 10 or 12 years or something along those lines. You can get some probably a little bit older than that, but I mean, that's still a pretty good bass, size bass. There's time I think they were using like the 5 to 10 pound range at the 10 to 12 year mark. If they can eat a steady pace of a third of their body weight, that's a big for Maine. That's a big fish.
And I would imagine that a lot of these smaller places they've been caught before too.
Yeah.
Which you ever think about that? Like, imagine if you just got pulled into outer space. For 2 minutes and then sent back down.
Yeah.
I've always wanted to like just look at my fish and just be like, no one will believe you.
Yeah. Well, it's like people who are like, I got abducted by aliens. Nobody believes them.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's like, I'm not saying I do believe them, but you imagine one day it's like, holy crap, they weren't lying. It was like, I know. I always wondered that, like when you're fishing, like. I haven't been ice fishing before when it's like 3 feet of water and you look down and you can see fish swimming around. And I've jigged them out with my ice fishing line where I drop it down, I'll catch one, I pull it out, and immediately I turn around and I put it back in, and the next fish is like, that's a good idea, I'll bite that too. Yeah. And it's like, Jeff didn't come back. And, it's like, why are you going after it? It's like, oh, the hell, where'd Billy go? And then you have Tom come up and goes, I'm going to try that too. And it's like, are they really that simplistic of creatures? They could be.
I don't know. You know what I got told the other day, and it was my dad that said this. This screwed me up.
Yep.
Screwed me up good. Going back to Fort Kent a little bit, I was texting him the game plan. I always try to let somebody not a part of the trip know what's going on, and my dad's pretty reliable with that. And he's like, why the hell are you going out at 3 a.m.? I'm like, cause dude, I want to catch a cusk.
Yeah.
He's like, so you have to go out at 3 a.m. for that? I'm like, yeah, you fish for cusk at night.
Yeah.
He's like, says who? No, it says everybody. They're just nocturnal fish. And he's like, I don't buy it. I'm like, what do you mean you don't buy it? Like, we go squid fishing at night because they're more active at night and they're attracted to light and whatnot. And he goes, yeah, I'm sure during the summer these cusk are nocturnal. How exactly bright is it during the day
under the ice?
Under the ice. I feel like it's night all the time down there. And I'm like, hey. Shut up.
Yeah. I'm sure light gets to a certain point.
Yeah.
But I'm sure he's onto something too. He's like, I don't know what it is. I think I read that's technically what the difference between a lake and a pond is. Is like whatever. A lake is when like sunlight doesn't hit the bottom.
Oh.
And a pond can. And then like other times I've seen it's about size. So don't fully quote me on that. Because like Cold Stream, for example, is a rather deep pond. It's called Cold Stream Pond. Mm-hmm. But it's like, to me, it's a lake. You know?
That doesn't... I agree. Like, that doesn't make sense. Because I've always been told it's a size thing.
Yeah.
And then, I went to college in Unity. Mm-hmm. There's a massive lake there in Unity called Unity Pond. And it's also Lake Winnicook, I think. So it's got two names.
Yeah. One's a pond, one's a lake.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's...
I've always
make up your mind.
Yeah, exactly. I don't have the exact answer on it. This made me think of something. You saying like them getting pulled into outer space. Mm-hmm. Bill Engvall, stand-up comedian. Mm-hmm. I just love stand-up comedy. He was like, how do fish realize they like worms? He's like, do you think that like one day one got flooded up and was like on its side on the shoreline, just flopping around like, oh no, what am I gonna do? And there was just this worm just inching along the bank, and as his fish is flopping around, he was just like, oh hey, that was pretty good, and then somehow made it back to the water. And it was like, you guys wouldn't believe it. And then someday a fisherman dropped a worm in there, and he's like, this is what I was talking about. I don't know. It was just, he kills it. His delivery is way better, but it was just like that is an interesting thing. But I'm sure it has to do. It's probably depending on where you are. It's probably the smell.
Yeah.
I don't want to get too logical on it because it ruins the joke for me.
Right. Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess if you don't want to get too logical on it, right? Like people kind of joke about who the hell was the first guy to decide it was a good idea to jump on the back of a bull
or milk a cow. Yeah. Hey, what are you doing there? Yeah. The neighbor's doing it.
Yeah, neighbor told me he hates cow's milk. His cow's weird though; it's only got one udder.
Yeah. Oh god. Hey, we were fishing, right? Yeah. No, that's awesome. That's awesome.
Imagine how weird the first guy to ever pull a worm out of the ground and throw it on a hook and put it in the water must have looked to everybody just like, Jimmy.
Yeah.
What are you doing, guy? You know?
Yeah. I don't know. There's a lot of those things. It's like, to be the first. What was the thought process? What led you that way? You know? Because I've always fished with worms a bunch, and sometimes they work.
Yeah.
I have way more luck with bait fish than I do worms. You know? I'm assuming because it's just, they move more. It's more attractive, you know? They're wounded. A bigger fish is like, hey, a wounded smaller fish, I'm eating that. You know? Where a worm, once you get in that water, they don't freeze up in the water because the water's obviously not frozen.
But they slow down.
They slow way down. You know, like a warmer weather, I'm sure that thing's kicking all over the place.
Right.
You know, and that's why I like them in warmer weather. There's nothing more satisfying to me sometimes than warmer weather.
Yeah.
Like late in the afternoon when you have like a worm on a bobber. Mm-hmm. Just watching that bobber bounce around.
And then just boop.
Yeah, just a little, jingle, bouncing around, and all of a sudden just tucks under. I just love it. Like that's a childhood core memory that always like this is the good stuff. Yeah,
there's something always fun about just going back to a bobber.
Yeah.
Although going back to the worm thing, right? Like who the hell decided a worm could be good bait?
Yeah.
Which we can get logical about it. It's probably the scent. There's probably a little bit of aspect of the movement, right?
Yeah.
But now look at rubber worms.
Yeah.
And now you've got a little bit of action. Who the hell was the first guy to stick the hook right dead through the middle and do a wacky rig?
Right.
And those slam.
They slam. I think getting to that point of it was just trial and error of different things. Like the pool noodle. Hear me out on this. Some guy worked at a foam factory where they probably did like insulated pipes or something like that.
Yeah.
Something happened. They threw it in some kind of water. It fell on water, and the guy was like, damn, that thing floats. Brought it home, let his kids play with it, and was like, son of a bitch, I'm in. And just started selling them. So I think a wacky worm, somebody probably did something where they realized that kind of looks like a worm.
Yeah.
Brought it home, threw it on a hook, cast it out into the water, caught a bass or something, and it was like, $1 million idea. And then started selling worms, or wacky worms. And then trial and error from there of how do you hook these things up, different ways that you do it. Especially because like Little Bailey, he taught me a way of hooking up his like a wacky worm. When we were out fishing for like bass and like pickerel and stuff like that. The stream is like it has its deep points and it has its low points, but it's probably like 30 feet wide at like on average, right?
Right.
But 10 feet in from that 30 feet wide mark is just thick weeds.
Okay.
And what's always been fun is like you use a topwater like frog and you throw it out there and it lands, and as you reel it in, it's like Jaws. You can see the lily pad start moving and then something just slams it. But he showed me a cool way because he had like the worm going down straight through the center. Mm-hmm. The hook would go down through the center and pop out the bottom, and then he would like kind of do like a half hitch in it and hook it back over the hook.
Yep.
And so when he goes, it has a tail wiggling.
Right.
But you can go through the weeds and it doesn't catch into the weeds.
And then when the fish bites it, it pushes the worm the rest of the way down the hook.
Correct.
Yep.
And then you would catch the fish every time. And I think that type of stuff is just trial and error. Buddies just being out fishing all day and being like, I don't know, maybe threw it on there one way a little bit wrong. And then I was like, holy crap, I'm not catching weeds. Stuff like that.
I'm gonna make us famous. I'm gonna make us go down in history.
How so?
So the wacky rig, right?
Yep.
You just hook it right in the middle. Mm-hmm. 3/4. Hook it 3/4 or a quarter, I guess, depending on which way you're looking at it.
Yeah.
That's the rookie rig.
Yeah, patting it, just being like, you're a half inch off. That's mine. First off, we patent that half-inch mark. Yeah. I don't know. I think there's a lot of different things. You just said rookie, so ADD moment, jumping back to Bailey talking about gear.
Yeah.
It's like, man, and I know how Bailey thinks. Like, I don't think he's truly, like, losing sleep at night. Like,
no, not at all.
But that's the beauty of rookie, right? I put a video up the other day when I was not catching fish, showing how to use a cheap polar tip up that I have.
Right.
And this is rookie season for a reason. Like, this is a cheap trap. I'm using worms. I'm not even using the bait that I want to use. Like, everything was a last minute plan. It was a rookie move, right? In the sense of like, it was a lazy move on my behalf, because I was too cheap to want to run back to town to buy bait, then come back, and that's why I got to start my own bait shop, because I use my own bait. But and so I was like, I already have worms. I was like, screw it, I'll just go out. And I taught that. This is a very basic rookie concept. Like, if you wanted to go out and fish today, this is the bare minimum of what you need.
Right.
And then the same concept with like gear. It's like, man, if you're just warm, that's all that matters.
Yeah.
I would like to get something better than my Carhartts. I do have some, like, my sister-in-law used to work for Eddie Bauer.
Yeah.
And so she used to get some pretty good deals and stuff. And this is how rookie I am, right? Or like how many hand-me-downs per se I do. Is she bought some insulated like Eddie Bauer wind pants essentially, but they're thick. They're super warm. And gave them to my brother-in-law. My brother-in-law fluctuated weight, didn't fit him anymore, and so he gave them to me.
Gotcha.
I use a snot out of those things.
Yeah.
But I want to go away from my Carhartts, because Carhartts, you run around all day, you get your bottom part of your pant legs wet or something, they get heavy, then you're wearing, it's like wearing our bunker gear.
You could wax them, but...
Yeah, but I also use those same Carhartts for the farm. I go downstairs, I go down to the bottom part of the property, and I'm shoveling crap with it, and then all of a sudden, the next day I'm fishing, and I'm like, I'm that guy. I just, multi-purpose. But I would like to have a designated, like, this is my winter fishing stuff, or whatever.
I am such a sucker for FXR.
FXR. This is the brand.
That's the brand I use. That's the oh man, if we ever got a sponsor of anything, I want FXR.
FXR is the best stuff ever.
They actually, I do really like their stuff. It's pretty good. Like my jacket.
Yeah.
It's a 2-in-1, and that it's got a extra insulated layer that zips out so you can use it.
Like if you get hot, you want to shed a layer type of deal, or
or if just like it's not quite 20 degrees, but I like this jacket, so I'll unzip this and wear it in the fall.
Okay.
And now they just came out with fishing gear too, like those SPF shirts and deck boots and that stuff. And I'm not gonna lie, the deck boots and stuff, They're not anything special. A pair of deck boots is a pair of deck boots, but because it says FXR on the side, man, I really want a pair.
Yeah. You know what's funny is Michaela, because you're going smelting next week, right?
Yes.
Michaela was asking our crew. She was like, so Michaela is from Nebraska, never been ice fishing, from my understanding.
Yeah.
And is more of a city slicker than a rural person. She's a city slicker, and she's becoming rural. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
But she's moving back to the city, and now her name's Misty. At work, if you leave and your name is, say, her name is Michaela, and you leave, we give you a new name, but it starts with the same initial. So Michaela's now being like Misty. If I was to leave, my name's Brandon. They'd probably call me like Brian. I don't know.
Brennan.
Yeah, Brennan.
Yeah, you know, that's too close. That's too respectful.
It is, exactly, yeah. So stuff like that. Long story short, she was asking me the other day. She was like, hey, do you guys have any muck boots? And I was like, well, I don't have like muck brand boots. I was like, but I do have like rubber insulated boots. And she's like, well, no, I'm going smelting. I need muck boots. I'm like, why muck boots specifically? And she was like, well, Nolan said that I needed to like bring muck boots. I was like, yeah, but like you probably don't need the brand muck boots. Like you need like rubber just insulated boots. And she was like, so muck boots are not like the boot for like smelting boots. And I was like, no. And I was like trying to break it down. You want something that is waterproof and insulated.
Tissue and Kleenex.
Yeah, exactly. That's funny you said that. I think Spudge or Scotty, somebody in the group right there said literally that.
Yeah.
You know, and it was just comical. It was like we're saying the same thing. It's just, and he's like, I bought a cheap pair of Ridge Cut boots from Tractor Supply.
I remember you showing me those.
Yeah, and I really haven't had any complaints on them. Like, they're not as warm as the muck boots per se, or like lacrosse or one of those things. But I tell you what, about a fraction of the price. They're like $75 in comparison to like $200. You know.
You know what? Muck boots suck.
Do they?
I say muck boots all the time just because that Kleenex thing. But to me, a muck boot is just ankle down is rubber, everything else is neoprene.
Yep.
Instead of like all rubber or whatever. Right. And muck boots suck for hunting and for fishing and ice fishing because they have no grip. Because you know where the name comes from?
Is it mucking like your style of like your neck of the woods with the like clams and stuff?
It does come from farm work. The tread is so tiny because it's designed to track less mud and manure throughout the farm into your house.
Yeah.
So they're originally designed for farming.
Yeah.
And then just people, farmers, as you know, get one thing and try to use it for as many things as possible. So then muck boots become fishing boots and hunting boots, and they're just. I don't own a farm, and I owned a pair of muck boots, and man, did I slip and fall a lot because of that tread. Now they've got special boots made more specifically for hunting, but the OG mucks, not a good choice.
Not the case, kind of go back into the fishing aspect of this. So you're going smelting next week.
Yes.
I personally, I have never myself been smelting. You want to elaborate on some of what that entails?
Yeah. First of all, we should get a shack this winter because I'm open to going more than once.
Okay.
It's really hard to explain. It is quintessential Maine, in terms of like you go out with your buddies. It's usually on all of the smelt shacks, or not shacks, but camps. Mm-hmm. There's like 6 to 8 camps in the state, and all but one are on the Kennebec River.
Okay.
And so the smelt run from the ocean up the river to spawn this time of year. And the river freezes enough, these companies put shacks out and they cut troughs into it.
Okay.
And the way to describe these shacks is it's essentially almost like a greenhouse. It's a wooden frame with like PVC on it to keep it insulated. It's a hot tent because they've all got wood stoves in them. And you sit in front of the trough. Can
you explain the trough a little bit better? Like, so when you say trough, they're cutting a hole in the ice, right?
Yes, it's like a rectangle.
It's not like a bucket trough. It's a hole in the ice that is rectangular.
Yep.
And that's on the floor, correct?
Yeah, and
into the water.
Yeah, there's an actual wooden floor in the shack, but then you have that trough, and it's about 1 foot wide, and it goes the entire length of the shack on either side.
Okay.
So we got a four-person shack. So it is, kind of shoulder to shoulder.
Yeah.
But basically the 4 of us are going to sit, I'm going to be right next to somebody. Mm-hmm. And then the other two people are going to be back to back to me and whoever I'm sitting next to.
Okay.
And then they've got like a 2x4 that goes across the ceiling.
Okay.
And it's on bungees, so you can jig the board a little bit.
Okay.
And essentially a cleat with line on it.
Okay.
And each person gets 5 lines. These are called your house lines.
When you say cleat, can you express what that is? Just dumb this right down. One, I know what you're talking about. Dumb it right down. People just don't know.
Cleat is like what you see on a boat, what they tie the rope around.
Okay.
It's just a good kind of graceful way to wrap line around.
Yeah.
So that way you can adjust it. Sometimes they'll just use 2 nails hammered in the board, and you wrap your line around the nails. And it's a hook, and then those sandworms that have the teeth that'll bite you, mudworms.
Yep.
You cut those up real small, put them on the hook, and you put your 5 lines in the water. And to start, you vary your depth of where the lines are because the smelt run. Sometimes they run high, sometimes they run low. I bring a flasher so I can see where they are and set everything right as I need to. And it sounds boring, but you basically just sit there, wait, and you'll know you have a smelt because one of your lines will start doing a little circle in the water.
Okay.
And then you pull it up, take it off the hook, throw it in the bucket, put the line back.
Okay.
I'm bringing a jig pole, and I'm going to use a sabiki rig, which is normally used for mackerel, and it's just like 5 to 9 hooks all on one rig. And like they're so small that it's basically a piece of aluminum foil on the hook for a flash.
Okay. Yeah, and smelts are what size? What is smelts? How big are they?
Small enough that the limit is measured by volume, so you're allowed to catch 2 quarts.
2 quarts of smelts.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they're probably like make the hang loose sign with your hand,
so like
thumb and pinky.
6 to 8 inches. Then?
Yeah, 6 to 8 inches.
Okay.
Yeah. Most people just cut the heads off.
Yeah.
Maybe cut the guts out real quick and then pan fry them whole and eat them whole.
Yep.
Kind of like it's almost the same as sardines.
Yeah, like some people pretty much just call them like fish sticks essentially. But I know some people like go batter them and whatnot, fry the whole thing, and just eat them that way. They're crunchy. No, it is definitely like I feel like borderline like a delicacy. It seems like for the state of Maine. I don't know if anybody else does it. It probably is, but like off the top of my head, I'm not sure. But I know that's like some people here are diehard smell fans.
Yeah.
Just never been. There's a lot of things in Maine that I just never done, and I've never lived anywhere else. Been here for 29 years now. So
we should go smelting. I mean, it's the 4-man shack is the minimum size to get, and at a 4-man shack, it's like $20 a head.
That's not too bad.
And then as you go up in people, the price goes down.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of fun. I'm gonna try to get there. So there's a tradition. The first smelt that you catch of the year, you bite the head off.
I've heard that. Yeah.
And I did it.
Yep.
And I'm gonna do it this time. I am curious as if I could talk Michaela into it.
I bet you can't.
I know, but I went 2 years ago, so I've only gone twice.
Yeah.
The first time I went, I caught pretty close to a limit. Everybody in the shack did, and it was a wicked awesome time. Second time I went was with my dad, my brother, my roommate, and my brother's girlfriend.
Yeah.
And we walk out, and I swear to God, people had smelts falling out of their pockets. They caught so many. It was nuts, and they're all, oh my God, this is great. Like, you guys are going to have a ball. They're hitting like crazy. And we're like, oh, this is awesome. Walking, we get told, all right, you're in shack, whatever. Walk into the shack. They left the lines down. There's already a smelt on one of the lines. We're like, oh, baby. We're going to make quick work of this.
Yeah.
And it was my dad's line. I'm like, hey, you got to bite the head off. He's like, I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
I'm like, no, it's bad luck, dude. You got to bite the head off. No, not a chance. So he throws it in the bucket. Didn't catch another one the rest of the friggin' night.
Yeah. I told you, Dad.
Yeah. It's all his fault.
Yeah. I told you. It's just like the dome light in the car. Yeah. No, that's cool though. I know what I've always wanted to do is sight fishing for ice fishing.
Yep.
Like get like my ice shack. I don't know what you have for an ice shack, but I just have one of the Eskimo fat fish. I think mine's like the 9.5 whatever. It's like a 5 or a 6 person ice shack. I got 2 of them now, but like sight fishing is just same like concept of like you cut a big rectangular hole in it. You sit on one side, but if you do it right on the right type of ice, in like the right type of daytime and nighttime actually, it's just so bright you can just watch the fish below you
Yeah.
and fish for it. It's something like Sebago. I've always wanted to go to Sebago just to walk across the lake.
Yeah.
When it's frozen, but it's crystal clear.
Yeah.
Like, you can just see everything. I just always thought that'd be fun.
I fished Sebago one time, open water.
Really?
And we didn't know what we were doing. We just went out to the deepest part of the lake, or not the deepest, but the boat we had only went about 8 miles an hour. So
Yeah.
we went probably 120 feet of water, and we had pike spoons to jig with.
Oh, wow.
And so we're jigging with that, and I decide, well, it's not working. I'm going to jig like I would for tuna. So drop it straight down to the bottom, close the bail, jig, reel up the slack.
Yeah.
And do that all the way through the entire water column.
Yeah.
And I look down, and I see my lure, 5 feet, and there is the biggest togue of my life I've ever seen. Looking right at it, thing was definitely in the mid-30s.
No doubt.
It was massive.
Yeah.
And I'm, guys, hook!
Again.
Not a single person picked up their head. They're like, yeah, fat chance, buddy.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm telling you.
And to this day, that none of them still don't believe me.
Really?
That fish followed it up.
Dude, last year? Was it last year? Year before that? I don't know. It was in the last 3 years, I believe it was. I was pushing the Penobscot, and I was with my buddy Alex, and I believe it was a sturgeon. I really don't know. You're not supposed to catch the damn things, but I have braided line on. It's like a 12-pound braided line. I cast it way out. I'm reeling it back in, and as I'm coming back in, there's like a 3 to 4 foot long fish that comes up. I have one of those like salamanders on.
Yep.
Bites the salamander, turns. It was super dark with a pointed nose. Turns with a white underbody, and just breaks my line. Tink! Like, just had I pulled back as I saw it hit it, and it just broke the line and just moved on. And I was like, well, damn. I don't know what that was, but in my mind, I'm like, a sturgeon kind of lines up with that.
Yeah.
But I really don't know. And my friend Alex, he's from Mass as well. And he used to do like fishing the canals and catching like giant like stripers and stuff like that. He was like, dude, that is the biggest fish I've ever seen in this water. Even if you called it 2.5 feet for the Penobscot, it's a really big fish.
Yeah. I don't know what the hell's in the Penobscot that's 2.5, 3 feet.
Other than a sturgeon,
right?
So it was just weird because it was like, I don't know what that was. In theory, there's not pike in there, but even then, the pike would have looked different than what I saw.
Right.
But it had the long, rounded, pointed nose like a sturgeon does. Mm-hmm. I don't know. It could have been. Maybe I'm telling fish stories, but if it wasn't for Alex being there and like having my back of being like, that was the biggest fish I've ever seen, the Penobscot. Yeah. It just solidifies it. So I don't really know. Who knows what it was? But hopefully next week when you go, you can get Michaela can get some. Some smells. Yeah. Just get the experience of it before she goes, I'm
a little worried because I had a friend go down 2-3 weeks ago when she fished, and I texted her the next day, and I was like, hey, how'd smelting go? And she's green when it comes to some of this stuff, too. Yeah. And she's like, it was great. I caught 5 fish. I was like, 5?
Oh, no, it's not.
You measure the day in volume.
Yeah. But hey, it's better than getting skunk at the end.
Oh yeah, and I mean she's an awesome person. She's awesome to be around, and she's definitely like I'm just happy to be here.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I'm that way, man. Like, obviously I want to catch fish.
Yeah. Who doesn't?
I'm more that way specifically when I'm warmer weather fishing. Like, for me, it's just the casting aspect of it. It's like, what's over there? What's over here? What's over there? Blah, blah, blah. And, like, it simplifies my mind and my life in that moment. Whereas, like, ice fishing, I'm like, okay, my traps are in. Now I'm going to wait.
Well, that's kind of the nice part about smelting is it's such, I'm sure that there's a few people that are in love with smelt and how they taste, and they just want smelt.
Yeah.
But outside of that, you go down there almost solely for the social aspect.
Yeah.
Because it really is like RV park. Everybody puts their camper down there for the summer, and everybody knows everybody.
Yeah.
It really is just like that.
Yeah.
I'm not local, so I can't walk down the smelt camp. Jimmy,
right.
But
if you do it, man, you do it repetitively. That's how you become that way. Yeah. It's like Little Bailey, I think, in the Old Town archery shop.
Yeah.
You know, like he went in there because he liked the bow hunt. He came from Calais, I think it was Calais, Machias. I don't know. He came from
Down
east, you know. And then he came up here, like bow hunting, started going there, started talking to the guy. He's there today. He goes there all the time now. He's friends with the guy. He made, like, there's world-class archers in there. There's a guy in there that's, like, won it, like, 3 or 4 times. A world-class archer. And he's buddy-buddy with that guy. Like, he started new somewhere, you know what I mean? Same idea with the smelting concept, you know? That's why I wave at all the game wardens, okay? One day, they're all going to know me by name. They're going to be like, Brandon, you know you're like 15 fish over the limit, buddy. I'm just kidding. Do not do that. But
Brandon, you shot 2 deer.
Yeah.
You can only have one. You got to throw one back.
Sorry. Yeah. I'll just donate it, you know? But no, you know, small areas you meet, you meet people, you start building those relationships, and it really grows into something. What's your goals? We really only have like 1 solid month left of ice fishing before it starts to turn the other way. You can still fish sometimes at the beginning of March, but you're usually starting to push it by the end of March.
Bring a board with you.
Yeah. What you have any goals?
I'm still on that 35-inch togue.
Okay.
That's still a goal.
Yep.
Haven't even caught a togue yet this year. I've just been waiting for some of my more go-to togue places to freeze up, and they're massive. So they just now are getting safe to get a wheeler on, so I can go 3 miles across the lake to my spot.
All right.
And just fish a little bit more. I've only gone 2-3 times this year, and I wanted to be going like once a week at least. So I got to pick it up.
Yeah, fair enough, man. No, that's awesome. I have very low goals.
Yeah.
I just want to catch a fish. Just one fish. Right now, I've gone 4 times, ain't caught much. So just one fish. I know it's low expectations, but rookie season for a reason.
Yeah.
I love that saying because it's just like, this is a perfect prime example of it, man.
Yeah.
I'm just going after work. I'm just going, or not really after, I guess technically after work because we work until 7 a.m. So I am going after work. Start of the day, go out fishing, hopefully catch something. You know,
I don't know if we're an authority in terms of talking about hunting or fishing, but we're certainly an authority in talking about being rookies.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, if you need a rookie to talk to, you let us know. You need someone that knows what they're doing, call the next guy.
Do you want to feel better about yourself? Talk to us.
Yeah. You want to feel like the average person? Talk to me. Nice. So, well, we're at essentially the hour mark. If you want, we'll wrap it up.
Yep, I do have one more goal.
What you got?
I want to go fishing with you.
I know.
We've had this channel since rifle season for deer. We've talked about hunting and fishing together for the past 2 or 3 years. 2 years. We went hunting once together before we had the YouTube channel.
It's true. Yep.
And that's it.
Yep.
We have never, other than the podcast, we have never been side by side in a video.
It is true. It really is true. And that hunting trip was a good one.
Yeah.
If we would have went multiple more times, I think we would have really figured that out and had a good feel for it. But the real reason why this hasn't happened is I don't like you. No, I'm just kidding. No, I'm just kidding. But no, we really should. We really should. We'll make something happen for sure. I know you have vacation, but unfortunately, this is the way life works. You know, you have like Murphy's Law, you have all these things. I want to call one that's like Sheldon's Law, where it's you could plan something for 6 months from now.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm free that day. And in 5 months and 3 weeks later, there's something that's going to come up where it's going to be like, son of a bitch. You know, because...
Dude, my horse broke its leg. I got to take it to Massachusetts.
Don't say stuff like that. I have spent $10,000 in horse surgeries this year. Do not put that juju on me, okay?
Don't you put that on me, Ricky Bobby.
Yeah. No. But what's happened is my mom is coming up.
Yeah.
She'll be up here for a week. Just so you guys know, I think I mentioned it before, but my wife is pregnant. My mom's coming up. We're going to do the whole kumbaya, we're all together.
Yeah.
Growing the family type of deal. But she's coming up on the week that you're taking a vacation, so it is just one of those things. So we'll balance it out. Maybe I can convince her to stay at my sister's one of these days or something like that.
Well, and then the 3 days I have off before she comes up, my family's up here.
Yeah, so there you go. So we will make something happen regardless. You know, and even if it's, I don't even know what it is. We'll make something happen.
Yeah, eventually.
And if not, this year we will absolutely get together more doing things because like when my daughter's here, like open fishing will be easy realistically, especially if we could get Big Bailey to be more interested in doing this, even if he doesn't want to be on camera, just going out on a boat.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't mind bringing my daughter, just don't put a treble hook in her forehead. Type of stuff like that.
Yeah.
You know, we can get on board. Even if it's just like easy bass fishing.
Yeah.
Bass fishing, the reason why I always go to that, just so everybody here knows, I used to crap on bass fishing all the time because I'm like, no, I'm a sportsman. I want to go trout fishing. I want to go for salmon. Like, I want to go for those game fish. And now I'm like, I hardly ever feel like I have any time to do anything.
I just want to see a rod bend.
Exactly. And so everywhere around me, because we're surrounded by a Penobscot, is bass. You know, and
supposedly world class.
Supposedly. I think what it is just that you can catch them so well.
We just don't value them like other people do.
Correct. You know, because like when I get on YouTube, it's like people are just hot and horny for bass. And I'm like, dude, I'll go catch 10 bass, but if I catch one beautiful brookie, like I will remember that for the next 3 years.
Right.
I don't remember the bass I caught last year. There's only one bass that I actually remember that I caught last year because I bet you that was all of a 3.5 pound bass. I gotta find a picture of it and send it to you. But for me, that's a good bass around here. Like, it was a big, largemouth. Like, I could have stuffed my hand down its like mouth, you know, and he's got a big old fat belly on him. You know, it's just a beautiful bass, you know.
Yeah.
But I catch 10 bass, I'll maybe remember that one. I catch one beautiful brookie, I'll remember that thing forever.
Yeah.
So even this year, if it's just simply like, hey man, let's just go down to that stream that I took Little Bailey to last year, because like you can get in that, paddle up, the current takes you back, and I have never gone out there and not caught fish.
Oh, be careful, because you know how my for sure spot went 3 weeks ago.
I've told Zach I'm not fishing with him anymore.
Bad juju?
We're bad juju for each other. He'll go out with his friends, slay him. I'll go out with my friends, slay him. We'll get together, nothing. It's like, you know what, man? Stay away from me. Okay? So now we're going to go fish it separately.
Yep.
But just be near each other. We're not fishing together.
Right.
We're just fishing the same pond, happen to be at the same time, and maybe we talked about it prior to being there.
Barely close enough that you can make out each other's birds.
Exactly. Yep. Yeah, so, no, cool. That's some good goals. I'm happy with that. And we'll get together. We'll make something happen.
Yeah.
So,
one more thing for you to do.
Just
Just wicked off topic.
Yeah.
You got Prime?
Actually, we just canceled it yesterday because you know why? I work for the fire service. I can't pay my bills. So,
Fair enough.
we got rid of Prime, Netflix, and some of those stuff.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Wow, what you got?
New show. It's new to me at least, called Ice Vikings.
Okay.
And I didn't know that this was a thing. It's in Canada. Commercial ice fishing. And they're running nets under the ice.
I wonder how you do that.
They
drop them down.
They cut a hole, and they've got this wooden thing called a jigger.
Okay.
And it's the only way I can explain it is if you've ever seen a video of how like a watermill driven sawmill works. It's the same idea, in that instead of a water wheel turning it, you tug the rope and it indexes something, and it causes a spike to kick backwards, pushing the board forwards.
Okay.
And so they put the board in, then they jig it to make it go across the ice, find the board under the ice, drill another hole, pull it out, and then they use that rope to run the net under the ice.
Okay.
But they've all got the old school bombardiers that are like, they look like massive Volkswagens on tracks.
That's cool.
And they've got specialty shacks. They call them cabooses.
Ooh. That
are like designed to pull the nets out of the ice and sort the fish and whatnot.
Okay.
And some of the things that they call the fish, we know what a pickerel is, right? That's essentially, dumb it down, it's a baby pike.
Essentially, yeah.
Dumb
it's like its
down.
cousin. Yeah.
So apparently, I think it's Manitoba, a pickerel is a walleye.
Huh. It's kind of interesting because in my mind, a walleye is like a bass. It's just the cousin of the bass. You know what I mean?
What do you think a walleye is?
It's a long body. It has like the two dorsal fins almost.
Yeah. It's like a big perch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's like bass colored.
Okay. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it's one of those things where it's like, it was like a dorkfish. You know what I mean? Like it's just like a...
And it was some of the things that they were calling the fish. It was the same names of what we have, completely different fish. Not even the same family.
You know why? I'm freaking Canadian. I'm just kidding. Yeah. But it is interesting, man. It's a lot of things that are interesting like that. When you open face, spinning rod. Remember when you and I were like, it's an open face.
No, it's a spinning reel.
It's like, what are you talking about? We're saying the same thing. Same concept, I think. Yeah.
Oh, and then I really, it's a conventional reel. What's that? Oh, you got a thumb. Oh, so it's a bait caster. No. No, it's not a bait caster.
Never calls that. That's a closed face.
No.
No. The bait caster is what a bait caster is. The button one with a tensioner that is way overcomplicated for my simple mind.
Yeah. That's a bait caster.
That's a bait caster. The one that's just a straight up button, the one that you get when you're like 5 years old and you want to learn how to fish, closed face. Because the front of it is closed.
Right. That's how I'm talking about. Conventional is imagine a saltwater bait caster.
Dude, I don't do saltwater.
I know. But like, okay, you ever seen Wicked Tuna?
No.
All right. Do you know those massive reels that they use to catch like sharks?
Sure. I got a general idea.
Same idea. So imagine a bait caster, but bigger.
Yep.
There's no button on it.
Okay.
It's a lever.
Okay.
Only free spools. There's no friction knob or anything to slow down the spool. And there's no line leveler. So as you reel, you have to align the spool with your thumb.
Okay.
That's the conventional.
How are you doing that when you catch an 800-pound tuna?
You just do it.
You just do it? Yeah.
Well, when you're catching 800-pound tuna, it's in a rod holder, so you can't crank down on the fish. So what I've never fought an 800-pound tuna from what I gather from watching videos.
A 100-pound tuna would be wild.
They grab the line with gloves and they pull the line and crank at the same time. Okay. So I'd imagine they're aligning it while they do that.
Yeah.
When I use a conventional, because I catch striped bass on them, it's just prudence of mind, and you just use your thumb to push the line back and forth to keep it aligned.
AD moment, but we're talking about the same thing.
Yeah.
When you have one of those like hot rod holders that are strapped to you, are you strapped to the boat? Because like, if I'm wrestling a couple 100-pound fish, I'm 165 pounds.
Right.
If that thing yards me off the boat,
I mean, because there's a bunch of different types of rod, like fighting seats.
I'm thinking the ones that like it looks like it straps around their waist, and it clicks in, and then they're running around the back of the boat when they're like trying to crank it in. Because like to me, like when you're roofing. Right. You wear a safety harness and you tie yourself to like the chimney, or you throw it up and over it and you tie it off to something on the other side of the house. Like I would want my ass tied to the stern somehow. Like, you know,
so some like I have seen where the rods are clipped in. Mm-hmm. Usually the rods are clipped in when you have a fighting chair. Okay. So it's clipped into the chair, not necessarily to you.
Okay.
Now the fighting belts, which are the ones that go on the waist, the butt ends of these rods for these big fish. They actually pop the cap off, and it's got a little U cut into it. Okay. There's a metal bar inside. It's almost like they just
push it down over that.
Yeah, and it's just enough that you can rock it back and forth and put your body into.
But if that thing's yarding, like, you know, say worst case scenario, rips you off the boat and it's yarding you down, are you going to be able to pop that off?
Yeah, you just let go and it goes.
Oh, okay.
It's just sitting on it.
Yeah.
If you hold on, that's called a Nantucket sleigh ride.
I believe it. It. Yeah, but cool. All right. Anything else you want to touch on?
I think I've got the last of my ADD outbursts out.
I ain't gonna lie to you. I'm trying to wrap this up. I gotta pee like a racehorse.
Fair enough.
So, other than that, if that's all, and thank you again for coming to the rookie season. I hope you guys enjoy. Sorry it's been a minute, but we've been just trying to accomplish some fishing. And we have not been succeeding. But we got some shorts out there for you. We got some videos out there for you. No one's doing some masterclass videos. I'm doing some like ASMR, like, hey, you want to catch some fish? Here's some basics. But we got some content out there for you, so I hope you guys are enjoying that. We're up to, I think we said 42 subscribers last night is what we saw. That's huge for us. Like, honestly, as silly as it sounds to some people who are like, I got 600, 1,000 subscribers. Yeah. I'll take my 42. I appreciate you guys.
Yeah.
Okay. So thank you, everybody. Nolan, you got anything?
Just check out the YouTube channel. Keep checking back. We're getting to the point of the year where we can't really get consistently stuff out just between our full-time jobs, and you never know what the weather is going to do and how it's going to play. But we definitely are remaining active on there. If you comment, we'll get back to you and stuff like that. So just keep an eye out. There's definitely more coming down the tubes very soon.
Absolutely. Thank you guys so much. Appreciate you.
See you later.